I used to think the scariest part of driving alone at night was falling asleep at the wheel. Now I know better. It was just past midnight when I was cutting across Route 80, somewhere in the flat, nowhere between Lovelock and Winnemucca. My car's dashboard clock said 12:17, and I remember that because I'd been counting the minutes to the next gas station. The air outside was a heavy, still black. No cars behind me, none ahead. Just the hum of my tires and the occasional glint of a reflector post. That's when I saw him. A car was pulled over on the shoulder, some faded gold sedan, maybe late 90s. Hood up, hazards blinking like dying fireflies. A man stood near it, waving both arms when he saw my headlights sweep over him. I slowed out of instinct. He looked middle-aged, flannel shirt, jeans, tired face. You could tell he'd been standing there a while. My mom's voice echoed in my head. Don't stop for strangers, not out here. But he looked desperate, and I was raised better than to just drive past someone stranded in the dark. So I pulled over. When I rolled down the window, he jogged up to my car. Not too fast, not threatening, just urgent. Thank God, he said out of breath. My battery's dead. Phone's got no bars. Been here 2 hours. He gestured toward the open hood. I glanced around. There really was nothing but black desert in every direction. No lights, no noise. The isolation made my chest tighten. Do you have jumper cables? He asked. Yeah, I said, stepping out before I could think twice. Let's get you going. I popped my trunk and dug around for the cables. The cold air hit me, thin and dry, with that dusty Nevada smell. He hovered close, smiling too much, thanking me too many times. His name was Robert. I didn't offer mine. When we pulled our cars nose to nose, I noticed something strange. His car looked perfectly fine. No signs of wear, no dirt on the hood despite the dust everywhere. And when he lifted it again, I saw the battery terminals, spotless. No corrosion, no grime, like it had just come off the assembly line. I remember thinking, weird for an old car like this. Still, I attached the red clamp to his positive terminal. He stood there watching me a little too closely. His hands were in his pockets. Not shivering, not fidgeting, just waiting. I hooked up the cables on my end and said, "Okay, give it a try." He didn't move, just looked at me. You can start it," I said, forcing a laugh. Then he smiled. Not friendly, slow, stretching, like he'd been waiting for me to notice something. "You didn't connect it right," he said quietly. I glanced down. He was right. I hadn't connected one of the clamps to the ground yet. I don't know how I missed that. I'd jumped cars plenty of times before. I reached for the black clamp, and that's when I noticed his hands. Clean. Not a speck of dirt, no grease under his nails. No one stranded on the side of the highway for hours had hands like that. I took a small step back. "You sure it's the battery?" He tilted his head. "You're very kind to stop." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. That's when I saw the passenger door of his car, slightly ajar. The dome light was off, but there was something dark on the seat. A shape, not a bag. Bigger. I turned. My heartbeat was pounding so loud it drowned out the wind. I think I hear another car," I said, lying, stepping toward mine. He moved faster than I thought a man his age could. His hand clamped around my arm, strong, calloused now, not clean like before. "Don't go yet," he said softly. I yanked away, stumbled, and bolted from my car. He shouted something, but the sound got eaten by the wind and the rush of my blood. I dove in, slammed the door, and hit the lock just as he grabbed the handle. The look on his face in my window, I'll never forget it. Flat, emotionless, like someone staring through a store display. I twisted the key, floored the gas. The tires squealed, against gravel before gripping asphalt. In my mirror, his headlights flared on. His car started. The battery wasn't dead. He pulled onto the highway behind me. I drove like hell, 90, maybe more, my hands slick on the wheel. Every few seconds I checked the mirror. His headlights stayed with me, distant but steady, like eyes floating in the dark. No cell service, no exits, just desert and darkness and that damn pair of lights that refused to fade. After what felt like an hour, it was probably 10 minutes, I spotted a green sign ahead. Mile marker 223, rest area 1 mile. I didn't think. I slammed the brakes, cut across the rumble strip, and killed my lights. My car lurched to a stop behind a cluster of scrub bushes off the shoulder. I sat there holding my breath. His headlights streaked past. He didn't slow down, didn't stop, just vanished into the black horizon. I waited another 10 minutes before starting my car again. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the keys twice. When I finally reached the rest stop, there was no one there. Just flickering fluorescent lights and vending machines humming in the silence. I slept in my car until sunrise. When I drove back past that stretch the next morning, his car was gone. No tire tracks, no sign anyone had ever been there. Just a lonely strip of asphalt cutting through the desert and the faint smell of burnt rubber lingering on the wind. We were somewhere in upstate New York when everything started to fall apart. Route 17, that endless, curving two-lane that winds through dark pine forests and half-dead towns. Mark was driving. I was half asleep, my head against the window, watching the reflection of our U-Haul trailer bounce in the passing guardrails. We were halfway through our move from Ohio to Maine. New jobs, new place, new start. Everything we owned was in that trailer. Everything that mattered was in the car beside me. Then it happened. Mark flicked on the blinker and changed lanes to avoid a slow semi. There was a flash of headlights behind us, a horn that seemed to scream rather than honk. Mark muttered, "Shit," and swerved back, too late. The rusty pickup appeared out of nowhere, old, unmarked, caked in mud. We'd cut it off by a few feet. I caught a glimpse of faces through the windshield. 3 guys, young but not boys, faces lit by the sick blue glow of a phone. One of them raised a middle finger as they blared past us. "Idiots," Mark said, shaking his head. "I wish we just pulled over. Let them go." Anything but what came next. A minute later, their red taillights disappeared over a rise. We relaxed. Then the lights came back, fast. The pickup was tailgating us now, high beams cutting into the mirrors, horn blaring in bursts. Mark sped up. They matched us. He slowed down. So did they. "They're playing games," he said, trying to sound calm. The truck lurched forward, swerving into the opposite lane, drawing level with us. The guy in the passenger seat leaned out the window, yelling something I couldn't hear, but his tone said enough. Then they swerved toward us, close enough that I heard the scream of metal on metal. "Jesus Christ!" I shouted. Mark slammed the brakes, and the truck fishtailed before roaring ahead, disappearing into the dark again. For a second, there was silence, just our rattling breath. Then Mark said, "I think they clipped the trailer." He pulled over, heart hammering so loud I could hear it. The trailer's side had a fresh gash in the paint. One of the cables had come loose. But worse, the back right tire of the car looked low. We didn't have time to fix it. "Let's just go," I said. "We'll find a station." As we pulled away, I kept checking the mirror. Nothing. No lights. Maybe they'd kept driving. Maybe they'd forgotten about us. We reached a gas station 20 minutes later. One of those old ones with flickering yellow lights and a single dusty pump. No cars. The air smelled like old oil and pine needles. Mark went inside to pay. I stayed by the car, trying to steady my breathing. The fluorescent light hummed above me. I caught a reflection in the glass door, a shape behind the pumps. The rusty pickup. It rolled in slow, headlights off, engine low and growling. My throat went dry. Mark stepped out with a coffee and froze when he saw my face. Then he turned. The crew got out, 3 of them, built like farm boys, all bulk and swagger. The driver had a shaved head and that empty, glassy look you only see in people who've been up for days. One had a tire iron in his hand, twirling it lazily. "Evening," the driver said. "You cut us off back there." Mark raised his hands. "It was an accident." The driver smiled, wide and fake. "You calling me a liar?" My chest locked up. I could hear the sound of gravel crunching under their boots as they spread out, one circling the trailer, another stepping closer to me. "Leave us alone," I said, voice shaking. The driver's eyes flicked to me. "I think you owe us an apology, sweetheart." Mark put himself between us. "We're leaving." The guy with the tire iron tapped the trailer hitch. "You're leaking air," he said. Mark looked down. The tire was nearly flat. They'd slashed it. The driver laughed, a soft, lazy sound that didn't reach his eyes. "Guess you ain't going far." We got in the car, locked the doors. The 3 of them stood there, blocking the only exit from the lot. Mark started the engine. They didn't move. Then, without warning, he floored it. The car surged forward, the U-Haul jerking hard behind us. The driver jumped aside just in time as we tore out onto the road. I heard the crunch of something under the wheels. Maybe their cooler, maybe worse. and then we were flying down Route 17 again. Headlights exploded in the mirror. "They're coming!" I screamed. The truck was right behind us, horn blaring, high beams burning through the glass. The car vibrated with every bump. The low tire was giving out, thudding like a heartbeat. Mark gripped the wheel, knuckles white. "I'm not stopping," he said. At 70, the tire blew. The car fishtailed, sparks shooting from the rim. Somehow, Mark kept control long enough to steer us into a gravel pull-off beside an old service road. We jumped out and ran. The forest was cold and wet. We stumbled through branches, the glow of the truck's lights cutting through the trees behind us. I could hear them laughing, not fast, not frantic, just enjoying it. Then, silence. The truck engine idled. A door slammed. They were hunting. We crouched behind a fallen log, the smell of pine thick in my throat. Mark whispered, "We wait until they leave." Minutes crawled by. The lights shifted, then faded. We stayed there until dawn. When we finally crept back to the road, the pickup was gone. Our car was still there, driver's side door open, glove box emptied. The word sorry was carved into the hood. We never saw them again. But every time I drive now, I still catch myself watching the mirrors too long, waiting for those headlights to come back. It was supposed to be an easy drive. 6 hours across Wyoming, open plains, no traffic, no surprises. I liked the solitude. The hum of the road, the flat horizon, the way the world seemed so big you could disappear in it. Around noon, I saw a dust cloud ahead. Out here, that usually meant a tractor or a truck on a dirt access road. But as I got closer, I saw twisted metal glinting in the sunlight. A car wreck. The scene came into focus. 2 vehicles on the shoulder, maybe 50 feet apart. One was a dark SUV, nose crumpled, smoke curling from the hood. The other, an older gray sedan, had its trunk open. A man stood by the SUV waving his arms, but not like someone asking for help, more like he was yelling orders. 2 others were dragging something from the ground, a body, I thought at first, but it was moving. That's when I saw the blood. Not dripping, not splattered, but soaked into the dust like someone had spilled a bucket of paint. The man by the sedan looked up. He saw me. His expression didn't change, but there was recognition. A split-second calculation that made my stomach drop. I pressed the gas without thinking. My little hatchback lurched forward. I didn't dare look in the mirror for a few seconds. When I finally did, the men were in motion. One slammed the trunk, another jumped into the driver's seat. The gray sedan pulled onto the road. They were coming. I told myself I was imagining it, that maybe they were just trying to get to town, but the knot in my chest said otherwise. The road was straight for miles, no turns, no traffic. Just the sound of the wind and the dull roar of tires behind me. They were closing in. I grabbed my phone. 2 bars. No time to think. I dialed 911, hit speaker, and dropped it in my lap. A voice crackled. 911, what's your... I cut the sound by slapping the volume button. My heart was hammering. The sedan was about 3 car lengths behind now. I could see faces through the windshield, hard, sunburned faces. The passenger leaned forward, lips moving. The driver raised a hand, gesturing for me to pull over. Not a chance. The road narrowed, cutting between rocky hills. No cell towers, no exits. The dispatcher was still on the line, her voice faint and tinny. "Hello? Can you hear me?" "I'm being followed," I whispered, eyes flicking to the mirror. "I think they killed someone. Route 287, heading north, somewhere near." The sedan surged forward, bumping my rear bumper hard enough to jolt the phone off my lap. I grabbed the wheel, trying to keep control. The phone slid into the footwell, screen cracked but still glowing faintly. They rammed me again. The horizon opened up into a junction, a dusty turnout leading to an unmarked service road. To the left, the main highway kept going north toward Rawlins. To the right, nothing but scrubland and a sign so faded it was unreadable. I took the turn. The sedan followed instantly. Gravel sprayed as my tires hit the dirt. The road twisted between low hills, visibility dropping. My hands were slick with sweat. They were closer now. I could hear their engine over mine, that raw, throaty growl of an old V8 straining to keep up. Then I saw something ahead, a line of 3 semi-trucks parked along the side of the road. A convoy. I slowed just enough to pull behind them, hoping the big rigs would block the view. I killed my lights and ducked low. The sedan crested the hill seconds later. its headlights sweeping across the line of trucks. It slowed. For one moment, I thought maybe they'd lost me. Then the sedan's lights cut out too. The sound of its engine stopped. I crouched lower, breathing through my hand, trying not to make a sound. One of the truck doors opened. Creak, slam, footsteps on gravel. The sedan's driver was walking now, flashlight in hand, sweeping it back and forth between the trucks. He was looking for me. I counted the seconds in my head, waiting for an opening. Then I saw it, a narrow service lane between the trucks leading to another dirt road on the far side. I turned the key. My car's engine coughed to life. Too loud, too fast. The flashlight whipped around. He shouted something, and the sedan's headlights flared back on. I gunned it, flying between the trucks, scraping a mirror off one side. The dirt road ahead curved downhill toward a riverbed. The sedan followed, fishtailing through the dust. I could smell burning rubber. The road ended abruptly at a small bridge. Single lane, no guardrails, maybe 10 feet above the water. I floored it. The car bounced across, suspension groaning. The sedan was seconds behind. I swerved hard once I reached the other side, aiming for a cluster of low shrubs and dry grass. I killed the lights again and coasted down into the shallow ditch. The sedan hit the bridge, too fast. I heard the crack of wood, the scream of tires, and then silence. When I climbed out, heart hammering, the car was half off the bridge, front end crushed against the far embankment. Smoke. No movement. I didn't stay. I walked until I found a service station 2 hours later. A man in a grease-stained uniform who looked at me like I was half mad. He called the highway patrol. When they found the wreck, it was empty. The sedan's doors were open, the trunk too. The duffel bag was gone. They never found the men. Sometimes when I drive long stretches of highway, I still catch glimpses in my mirror, a gray shape far behind, kicking up dust. I tell myself it's nothing, just the wind and my imagination. But I always keep my phone in my hand now, always.